You're listening to Sean Henry's Becoming, a podcast that focuses on the emotional journey of an entrepreneur from the thought of their business to the execution and beyond. I am your host, Sean Henry, a serial entrepreneur, speaker, real estate investor, landlord, 21-year retired Army veteran, and author of When the Bank Says No. I'm sitting down with entrepreneurs to talk about their processes and the lessons they've learned along the way. Fasten your seatbelts. The journey is rough, but rewarding.
Typically, if you're looking at an individual and they're really like muscle bound, then you can rest assured that that is their field of expertise. So when you look for a trainer, I think that's the first thing you should be able to do, because you want to be able to see the evidence of the effectiveness of this individual's program. And so you need to look at the body type. On the other end of the spectrum, if you look at an individual and there is no evidence of them working out, then, I think it's safe for you guys to want to run head for the hill.
Hi, this is Sean Henry from Sean Henry's Becoming. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple, Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no listenership. It's everything you need to make in a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Thank you for joining us today for another episode of Sean Henry's Becoming. We have the pleasure of joining us today, Kaymel, the body mechanic, aka Job. I call him Job because he is my personal trainer. He has sculpted my body and is continuing to sculpt my body over the past year and a half. And to deal with me takes a lot of patience, and that is something that he definitely has. So welcome, Kay, to our podcast.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be invited.
Thank you. All right, so we're gonna get started. So we're gonna start with your backstory as an entrepreneur. So where did you grow up?
I grew up in Brooklyn, New York.
Okay, New York's in the house.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And do you have any siblings?
Yes, I do. Actually, I have a sister. She's 3 years younger than I am.
Okay.
She's not down here, of course.
Down here in Atlanta. Okay.
She's not down in Atlanta. Correct.
Oh, so how was that growing up, you being the older brother and her the younger sister?
Of course, she and I had our struggles. But I was always protective of her. So we had that kind of a situation growing up. It was a power struggle, definitely a power struggle.
Who won?
Of course I won. Of course I won. I'm the bigger brother.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm the big.
Okay. All right. Did you grow up in an entrepreneurial household?
Not necessarily. However, I had family members that had business. My father raised me. My sister was raised by my mother. Once my mother and father got divorced. But my father definitely showed me the importance of being being able to basically have an independent spirit and being able to do for self-sufficient is what I meant to say. He definitely showed me the importance of that. And he also showed me the importance of basically empowering ourselves economically. So I saw that growing up. Okay.
Were there any hobbies or interests that led you to well, first let me ask you this. I'm sorry. What is your current business?
I'm actually a fitness specialist. So I'm independently contracted and I do personal training. I also teach CPR as well. But anything basically fitness related. I do the CPR as it relates to trainers. Those in the fitness industry understand that they have to be certified in CPR, first aid, AED. So to that end, another component of my business is instructing people that are going for their certification in CPR, AED, first aid training. On
Okay.
top of the fitness specialist, me being a personal trainer.
So the CPR, what was the other acronym? AED.
CPR, AED, first aid.
Okay, so that's one certification, CPR, AED, first aid.
Absolutely. That's one certification. I'm certified through Red Cross I'm an instructor in that area. So I
Okay.
instruct. Mm-hmm.
So with the do you think that's valuable to have that certification as a personal trainer?
Absolutely. Because first of all, it's required as a personal trainer. If you're professionally doing this, then you need to have CPR, AED, first aid training. Most gyms, any reputable gym, is not going to allow you to work in their facility without those types of certifications. Hands down, even if you're doing it independently, unfortunately, many potential clients, they may not be aware of this, but anytime you seek out a trainer, anytime any individual seeks a trainer, they need to rest assured or be able to rest assured that this individual is certified in CPR, AED, and first aid training. So it's a
Okay.
requirement.
So what certifications? So I've had 4 trainers. You're number 4.
Okay.
When a person is looking for a personal trainer, so usually we're looking for a personal trainer because either we're trying to, most women are, we have a special event, we're trying to get into shape for something, or that usually motivates us, our wedding, summer, that type of thing, or we're just literally tired of a certain look. What are some of the things that we should look at or seek when we are looking to hire a personal trainer?
Well, one of the first things I kind of pointed it out uh, in a YouTube video, but one of the first things that we should look for, that women should look for, or anyone for that matter,
Right.
look at the potential trainer's body type. Looking at their body type will give you some type of evidence of the effectiveness of their work. So typically, if you're looking at an individual and they're really like muscle bound, then you can rest assured that that is their field of expertise. So when you look for a trainer, I think that's the first thing you should be able to do, because you want to be able to see the evidence of the effectiveness of this individual's program.
Mhm.
And so you need to look at the body type. On the other end of the spectrum, if you look at an individual and there is no evidence of them working out, then, I think it's safe for you guys to want to run head for the hills, because why would you seek a trainer and, no disrespect to any body type, but they don't look like they're physically fit? So I think the first thing that you all need to do is look at their body type. That's the first thing you need to do. The second thing you need to do is you need to ask for their certification. Ask what agency they're certified through. And if they're in good standings, they will show you their certification. And there's a number on their certification. In other words, I'm certified through the National Federation of Professional Trainers. And once they can take a picture of my certification, and that way they have information. At that juncture, they can turn around, they can go to the NFPT, National Federation of Professional Trainers database, and they can punch that number in, and they can then determine whether or not I'm in good standings, because that number will let you know whether or not this individual is in good standing. Because they may have acquired a certification, they have a certification, but take for instance, some agencies require them to recertify like every 2 years. Agencies like ISSA, which is International Sports Science Association, some agencies allow for 2 years. With NFPT, we have to recertify every year. And so now you will see whether or not I'm in good standing, because I could have actually become a trainer, but I may not be current. And the significance of that is each year we're required to take so many tests. We have to renew our certification because this is a science, and it's just like anyone practicing in the medical field. They have to go back and take examinations. They have to study because there's always new information coming out. And so an individual needs to stay current. With me, I've been certified for over a decade. Now, imagine me having my certification when I acquired my certification, but then never going back and taking any of the tests or exams that I had to take to keep my certification current. You're talking about over a decade of information that I would not have. So I think that that's another important aspect or another, just another thing that I think individuals need to look at when they're seeking certificate, when they're seeking an individual for training. You need to look at whether or not this individual is certified, whether or not they're in good standings. I've already pointed out the body type. And then, talk with, important, very important. Look at their body of work. Go to their social media, ask them what they're, do they have a portfolio of before afters? Very important, because you want to see the evidence of this. In fact, a friend of mine, she was going through something at Gold's Gym, and she went to Gold's Gym. She hired a trainer. And when you go to Gold's Gym, LA Fitness, any one of these gyms, these box gyms, they typically pair clients with trainers. In many instances, some of these trainers are just becoming certified. You have some of them that work at LA Fitness that aren't even certified yet. They're becoming certified, but they actually aren't certified at that point. Subsequently, they may not even have a portfolio of anyone that you may be their first client. You may, in fact, be their first client. So they don't have a portfolio. So there's no evidence of the effectiveness of their program. Everything at that juncture is just theory. So it's very important to look at their portfolio. You want to look at their line of work, and then you can make an informed decision. But without that type of information, it's just all guesswork now. You're taking chances. And this is what happened to an individual I know. She went to Gold's Gym, sought out a trainer, got into a contract, and this woman didn't even help her out. She didn't really lose any weight, so she was locked into this contract. So I think that's very important.
Okay, so we need to, one, look at the trainer themselves and see if they look like if they look like they're a product of their own work.
Absolutely.
Then two, ask them about the certifications. So we need to ask them, do they have the CPR certification and the basic certifications of being a trainer, and also see that to be take a picture of it and Google search or do our own research on that particular platform to be sure that their certification is still valid.
Absolutely.
And then three, to see if they have any referrals or pictures of their before and afters of their actual clients that they've trained.
Correct.
Okay. And I think that's all doable. I think one thing I have never done is ask for the certification, but I have, like I said, I've had 4 trainers, and I've had a problem when I go to a trainer. Matter of fact, I went to one of the box gyms, and I went to I'm asking the guy, telling him I need a trainer because I'm one of those people that I have no, what is it? Not self-discipline to work out. It's really gloomy today. It's cold. I'll make that excuse. It's cold, it's gloomy, I'm not going to the gym. or it's rainy, I'm not going to the gym, or I just ate, I'm not going to the gym. Whatever the excuse we're going to make for that day, I'll make that excuse. But I went to the gym and I saw this guy and I'm looking at him. He wasn't really out of shape. You know, he looked like he used to be cut up and he wasn't anymore. And but what I didn't like about him was the fact that he started to point out very negatively and not in constructive criticism my flaws. So it's like, oh yeah, I see you have a little extra fat over here. I can help you work that out. And so now where he's pointing at, I'm looking at his body like, you got the same fat and you you didn't help you. So how are you going to help me? So I think that's very, very important, like you said, with those, and that is helpful information with those certifications. So how does a client go about asking for those certifications? So is it like we're interviewing our trainer? Is that in a sense? Okay.
Absolutely, because
Okay.
that all that information should be, it's readily available. It should be readily available to you, because at the end of the day, you are the consumer. So typically, if you guys ask, in fact, what I started doing in many instances um, is I show them my certification. I didn't always do that. I mean, but if they ask, I show it to them. But what I started doing now is I take that from them. What I do is I say, well, listen, if I remember, here's my certification. I definitely lead them to my social media, but I give them my certification. I say, hey, listen, I go out, get my wallet, and I say, here's my certification. And then that way they see it. And a lot of them are really appreciative of that, because that is not the norm. You know, we
Right.
don't have to do that. You know, in other words, when you ask, then we need to show it to you. But you know, you don't have many instances where individuals say, hey, here's my certification. You can look at it, you know. So that isn't the norm. But I started doing that in many instances when I remember. I'll just tell them, hey, listen, let me show you this. And that goes a long way with the potential client, you know, because now they feel confident. Um, and not only that, it separates you from the social media trainer, because we have a lot of social media trainers now. They aren't certified, but they're on social media, and they're doing these seemingly great exercises on social media. And a lot of times, people that are seeking a personal trainer, they get caught up in the hoopla. They look at that and they say, oh, wow, this looks great. Not realizing that every exercise isn't for everyone. You know, I have various clients. I don't train my clients the same way. You know, I train this client this particular way, that client another way, another client another way. You know, so you have to train clients to their body types, because at the end of the day, we're trying to create the best client that we can create. You know, so if I'm training you, I'm trying to create the best Sean that I can create. I'm not trying to create the best. I'm not trying to create a Clee or this person or that. You know, I'm not trying to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you deal with okay, so we can use me. So when I met you, I knew I needed to lose 15 pounds in about 2 month time period. And that was going to be my litmus test of how great of a trainer you were in my head.
Okay.
Okay, so when I met you, I say, hey, I need to lose 15 pounds in 60 days. So the first question with that is that doable?
Uh, yes, it is doable. Obviously, it requires eating. I mean, heck, I've had clients that have literally lost 15 pounds, honestly, in a week. But it's all contingent upon diet, you know, so
Oh,
it's doable. Now, let me say this, it is doable. Is it healthy? Uh,
okay.
no. 15 pounds in a week, they can do it. They can lose it. Um, 15 pounds in 2 months is definitely doable with the right eating. And although it's recommended, typically you'll hear people say uh, anywhere from, yeah, it's definitely doable, because typically just on a regular training, if a person's eating right, it's recommended that they lose anywhere from 4 to 8 pounds in a month.
Okay.
So 2 months, 16 pounds at most, you can lose. So yes, it's definitely doable.
And that's and it's healthy
And
in that
that's
amount
healthy. And that
of.
would be healthy, correct. If they're eating right, that would be healthy, correct.
Okay, so that's the next thing I was going to say, because you did say, sure, you told me exactly that I could lose it and I have to eat right, and
Mm-hmm.
everybody has their own idea of what eating right is.
Mm-hmm.
So you told me, okay, you have to um, meal prep. And
Mm-hmm.
my response was, I don't cook, so I'm not meal prepping. And then you said, okay, well, let's talk about what you were eating. And a matter of fact, after the consultation, I had told you I was going to the Waffle House. So I was going to the Waffle House. So my question is, how often do you get clients that have these high expectations of you and high demands, but do not want to follow the regimen um, that you were prescribing to get them to where they want to be?
Well, that happens frequently. I mean, this comes with the line of work that I've chosen to be in. This is my profession. So that happens frequently. Um, but if you have a love for what it is you do, then you understand that, because I'm tasked with getting people to do things that they do not want to do. Most people would rather lie down on a sofa, chill out, go to a nice restaurant, eat some food. I get it. Um, and they definitely don't want to count calories. So I get it. Uh, so I'm tasked with um, getting a person to exercise and make healthier choices in their diet. So many times, that just comes with the territory. You simply have to be patient enough to deal with that, and you kind of push them on the exercise tip. If they're not eating correctly, then you kind of challenge them in other areas. So you tax them on the exercise tip. Like, okay, you don't want to eat right. Okay, we're gonna have to turn this exercise up a little bit. So yeah, frequently.
So how does the exercise combat the bad eating, or not so great eating? It may not necessarily be bad.
Okay, well, let me say this first and foremost: a bad diet is a bad diet, and exercise exercise cannot offset a bad diet. However, the most that we can do when a person eats horrible is we need to burn calories, because at the end of the day, it's about calorie expenditure. So, you have to create a deficit in order to lose weight. You have to create a deficit in the amount of with the amount of calories you burn versus the amount of calories you consume in a meal. Um, so 500 calories, typically what I do with a person is I say, okay, well, listen, let's create about a 500 calorie deficit daily. Well, if they're doing a 500 calorie deficit daily, in other words, just hypothetically speaking, say an individual is supposed to consume 2,000 calories, uh, but we know that's not the case for everyone. But just deal with a number like 2,000 calories. So if a person is normally consuming 2,000 calories in a day, um, now if they're doing enough workout where they're burning 500 calories, they've created a 500 calorie deficit. So at the end of the week, 3,500 calories will be burned in a 7 day period. This is assuming that they're active 7 days a week. They may not be training with me 7 days a week, but they're active 7 days a week. So this will ensure that at the end of the week, they will lose at least a pound because 3,500 calories is equivalent to a pound. So when a person eats horrible, if they're working out really intensely, then they will at least create some type of a deficit. And that's basically what a good trainer is looking at. They're going for. They're trying to create a deficit so that there is some calorie, there is some calorie burn, and ultimately some pounds lost, some weight loss. So that's basically what we're looking for when we intensify the workout.
Okay, and let me ask you this, because even after our consultation, we had a actual workout, and after the workout, I didn't want Waffle House anymore. I didn't want to ruin essentially the workout that we had by the omelet that I truly wanted. So I went and I got a veggie wrap or something like that from Publix that actually filled me up. I felt good about it, and so it did what the omelet would have done, except, making my stomach feel very heavy. And I really felt good about it. So in your experience, do you have people who are I don't consider myself a bad eater either, but do you or have a bad diet? Do you have clients who have told you, you know what, the workout that we've done has been so great that it deterred me from, eating the dessert or whatever their vice is, the bread, or, some of the things that you would ask your clients to cut down on in order to get the most benefit of the workout?
Absolutely. What happens is this. So from a scientific standpoint, what happens is this. When a person exercises, they actually release a chemical into their body. It's a hormone. It's called ghrelin. And what ghrelin does is ghrelin gives an individual a sense of satiety, a sense of being full. So when these intense workouts are done, this hormone ghrelin is released into the system. And when that happens, then a person doesn't have a desire to eat all of this food that they wanted to eat initially. So when a person is inactive, then that hormone isn't released into the bloodstream, and this is why they want to eat more. So yes, typically when a person works out, that is common. That is common.
Okay, so I do know that after a workout with you, I am starving. However, I do get full fast. Mm-hmm. So I used to leave the workout with you, go to Publix, get the big thing of fruit, like cut up fruit, and eat that on my way home. And I could literally, and that could be my dinner for the rest of the night. Because by the time I get home, one, I'm exhausted. I've eaten the fruit on the way home. I take a shower and I can literally go to bed. So right. Is that the effect of the chemical that you just explained?
Absolutely. Ghrelin. Yep. That's exactly what occurs. Okay. Yep.
Okay. So yeah, that's natural. Yeah. Because you can definitely overeat prior to having a workout regimen, for sure.
Uh-huh.
So as a fitness coach is what you said, right? Is that
fitness specialist, fitness coach? Correct. Okay.
As a fitness specialist, was this something that you grew up wanting to be, or when did you realize you wanted this as your profession as an entrepreneur?
So I grew up. My father raised me, and my father he's the first person to introduce me to exercise. He's the first priest. That's who taught me how to jump rope. He's the first person that had me jogging before I went to eat. So he disciplined me in that manner. And, he got me into the martial arts, into the boxing, into all of these things. And as a youngster, I was just active, physically active. I mean, we played, growing up in New York, stickball, baseball, football, basketball, boxing, you name it, we were active. So I was always a relatively active individual. Although I didn't play any high school basketball teams, any of that, I was just active. Um, and then obviously there became a point in my life that I just kind of transitioned into the weightlifting, and wasn't really active on any other level. But then what I noticed is that I was able to transform my body. And not only was I able to transform my body, I had individuals around me that would want to work out with me. They would want to exercise with me. And so to that end, this is what kind of inspired me. I've always liked to help individuals. I've always been the kind of person that really liked to help others. And so I saw this as a way of helping others, especially after I saw that I was able to transform my own body, because that's the ultimate test. You have to first be able to transform your body. And when you can transform your body, then you realize that you can do this in other people. And so that was what kind of motivated me first and foremost, just myself and people coming to me for exercise advice.
In what way were you able to transform your body? The way you look now or before? Like you and I have had these conversations before. So now your body looks a certain way, but you've told me that you were much bigger than you are now. So was that a way that when you were bigger, how did you look prior to transforming your body to that size?
Okay, so historically, I was what you would call, you have three body types. You have ectomorph, mesomorph, endomorph. So historically, I was probably leaning more towards the ectomorph, meaning I was like a bottomless pit. I could eat anything and didn't gain weight. So growing up, this was the look that I had.
Are you bragging?
Am I what?
Are you bragging?
No, I'm not bragging. No. Definitely not bragging.
Everybody can't eat what they want and not gain any weight.
Well, that used to be.
Hence the reason we hire you.
Right. Well, this used to be. So I'm definitely not bragging. Of course, that the metabolism slows down as we get older. Okay. But what happened was I was always this really skinny person, slim person, and I wanted to gain weight. So I started lifting a lot of heavy weight. And through a lot of heavy weight and a lot of protein, a lot of consumption of protein, I was able to gain weight. So when I started this program, I was 173 pounds. This was many years ago. And I bulked myself up to about 207 pounds. And then I kept lifting the weights, and I actually got up into about 225, somewhere in there.
Wow.
Lifting the weights. Yeah, bulked up. Now, my cardiovascular system sucked at that point, but I was able to bulk myself up, lifting all these weights. And so that I did that many years ago. That was the first transformation.
Okay, hold on. Wait, before you move on. What is the importance? Because you said your cardiovascular sucks. So why is that? Why is cardiovascular health important?
Well, especially as we begin to age, but cardiovascular health is important because, I mean, if a person's heart and lungs are not healthy, then, hey, listen, that's the real test of fitness. So there are 4 components of physical fitness. And a lot of times, most people focus on the aesthetics, the look. And in doing that, they focus on, particularly with men, they focus on muscular strength. And women, I can't say they really focus on muscular strength, but I would have to say they focus on the aesthetics. And so to that end, I guess it would be maybe some kind of muscular strength, cardiovascular. Women kind of focus on the cardiovascular. You see them on the machines and doing things of that nature. But most people focus on just the outside. Women do get into the cardiovascular system a little bit more. So there's cardiovascular strength, there's muscular strength, there's endurance, be it muscular endurance or cardiovascular endurance. And then there's flexibility. And women even focus on flexibility, of course, more than men. So those are the four components of physical fitness. So I was lacking at that point in cardiovascular strength, cardiovascular endurance, definitely. But cardiovascular strength and cardiovascular just endurance. So I was lacking. And I noticed that when I gained all that weight. Yeah, I was lifting the heavy weight, but I couldn't jog a mile, which was horrible. I said, "Oh no, I got to do something about this." So,
so the cardiovascular was became more important than just the physical look, because I have seen a lot of guys that will be very big. I mean, their arms are huge, chest is huge, they're like they look like the Incredible Hulk, and you're like, okay, you're a big guy, but like you said, they're kind of slow. Some are slow. They can't really do a lot of anything pretty fast, so that is, and you've seen people who have actually died, and people are like, how is that? Because somebody did die of cardiac arrest, I think, or something like that, and you're like, how is that? They look, and that's the key word, they look like they are in great shape.
Right.
So it's an overall health and not just the way you look.
Not just the way you look at all. In fact, one of my slogan as of late has become, I build bodies from the inside out. So I challenge a person's cardiovascular system because therein lies the key to a person reaching their targeted heart rate for maximal fat burn. So when an individual is like, take for instance, just to simplify it, when you see these machines in the gym and they have the little silver handles, it measures your heart rate. And what happens is, in order for you to burn a significant amount of fat, you need to reach a certain level. That's why they ask you on those machines, what is your age? Because once they know your age, once you punch it, typically when I train my clients, I don't have them do all of that because I can already, I know what 60% to 80% is like on an individual. If you've been doing it long enough, you can see 60 to 80% in their face.
60 to 80% of what?
60%, 80% of their maximum heart rate.
Okay.
So that's because from 60 to 80% of their maximum heart rate, that is when they begin to burn a significant amount of fat. And there's a formula for determining that, and it's based upon the individual's age. So what happens is, in order for you to be able to burn a significant amount of fat, I need your heart rate racing. I need your heart rate elevated. This is why when I train clients, I'm big on them getting their heart rate up. Because when they're working in that zone with their heart rate elevated, they begin to burn a significant amount of fat.
And you said you can see this in their face. What's showing in their face that lets you know that their heart rate is up?
Well, when a person is working at 60 to 80% of their maximum heart rate, first of all, you could see the effort because they're breathing, the way they're breathing. The breathing is labored. You can hear them pushing. Not just, obviously, if they're working over a period of time, the sweat, of course, it happens. But you could tell in their breathing, basically, whether or not they're being challenged. If I can talk to you and you can just come along like it's nothing, no problem. But typically, just take you, for instance. when I get on the machine, we get on the Stairmaster, and I said, okay, we're gonna go 5 minutes, and we're gonna go hard for 5 minutes. That is exactly what I'm doing. So I'm pushing you at that point. With you, I probably on the machines or during those days, I'm probably pushing you at about 80%. I'm not pushing you 60%. I'm pushing you more than 60%.
Why am I so special?
Why?
Yes.
Well, I've been I've been training you. Been training you a little over a year. So we're not gonna just come in and do 60% with you.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's the natural progression of things. So when I start off with a client, I may start off at 60%.
Okay.
Yeah, but as we go through the ranks, I have to increase it so that they don't reach a plateau.
Okay. So you didn't just come out the bag and just dump everything on me. We progressed. Okay.
We progressed, and we're still progressing.
We still are progressing. Absolutely. Okay.
Right.
And then, okay, so you were talking about the different, so you transformed your body from a scrawny man to a Incredible Hulk looking guy. And
right.
then you were able to so you didn't have the cardiovascular health capabilities that you wanted. So then you transformed your body again. So you went from Incredible Hulk to what you are now, or
correct?
Just okay. And so correct. Now, because you were explaining the 3 different body, I don't know if it was types or
yeah.
Okay.
So I said you have the ectomorph. The ectomorph is the person that's like really skinny. Then you have the mesomorph, which is somewhere in between. And then you have the endomorph. The endomorph is an individual that can almost look at a hamburger and gain weight. You know? So those are the 3 body types: ectomorph, mesomorph, and endomorph.
Okay, so you transformed your body into, what is it now?
I'm a meso. You know what? Looking back on the whole situation, I've always been a mesomorph, but I was a mesomorph that leaned. In my earlier stages, I was a mesomorph that leaned towards an ectomorph, meaning I could eat anything and not gain weight. So I was a mesomorph that leaned towards that. But then in my prior to the transformation that I have on my body type now, I'm still a mesomorph, but I was a mesomorph leaning towards an endomorph. So within the mesomorph spectrum, I went from one end of the spectrum to the opposite end of the spectrum, just in the mesomorph, because I was never an endomorph, but I slowed my metabolism up. I gained a lot of weight, but my cardiovascular system suffered. And as I began to age, I said, no, I can't do that. So I started doing a lot more jogging, a lot more jumping rope, things of that nature.
Mm-hmm. So you said you've been a personal trainer. Have you been a personal trainer full time for the past 3 years?
Yes, I have. Yes, okay. I have.
Okay, great. And you said, but you've been in the fitness world for the past, you said you got your certification. You've had your certification for over 10 years.
Absolutely. Over 10 years, I've had my certification.
Okay. And then you decided to become a fitness trainer. So that is great. Okay, cool. So then
my company, let me say this. So Kaymel, the body mechanic, that has been registered for almost 3 years. But I was before I registered Kaymel, the body mechanic, I was already training, teaching classes, and doing things of that nature. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. So that makes a difference. So you you had your certification for 10 years, but prior to incorporating your business, you already had clients, you were already coaching, you were already training.
Correct.
Okay. And that's something that entrepreneurs usually do. we're already working in our business, but then we go ahead and incorporate it at a later date, or when we get the education on getting it incorporated.
Correct.
So it's usually when people are calling it the side hustle, and we legitimize our side hustle.
That's right. There you go.
Okay. Did you have any difficulties in incorporating your business, Kaymel the Body Mechanic?
No, actually, I didn't. Because this is not my first business venture, but no, I actually didn't. No, I didn't. It was relatively simple.
Okay. What other, you said this wasn't your first business venture. What other businesses have you had? Because usually entrepreneurs, the business we're in now is not the business. We've had other businesses that has led us to this. What other businesses have you started or partnered in prior to Kaymel the Body Mechanic?
Well, first I was a landlord. And at the time I was a landlord, I also was a partner, and we had a corporation in a record label. And so I dealt with the music industry from a business perspective. I've never been an artist. So those were the first two business ventures. And that I did those business ventures many years ago. I was in my 20s. I was 26 when I was a landlord, and 27 when I partnered up with my cousin and a couple of other guys to form a record label.
Okay. And then, since you mentioned your age, then you decided to become a personal trainer. So how you said you were a landlord at 26, so you property owner at 26, 27, record label executive, and then you decided to become a personal trainer. You said you got certified 10 years ago. So currently your age is?
Currently my age is, wow.
Right.
I'm 52 years old.
You're 52 years old. So
52.
from 26, at 26, you said, I'm gonna be a landlord. 27, I'm gonna be a record exec. And then at 42, you said, you know what, I think I'm gonna do this fitness thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I have witnessed someone who actually was in their 40s. I want to say mid 40s, between 45 and 47, that came up to you, and he was kind of making an excuse a little bit about why he couldn't do a certain exercise or challenge at the gym, because the excuse was because of his age. But he was talking to you thinking that you were younger than him. Do you remember that?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And then you said, "Oh yeah, I get it. Yeah, I'm 52." Or at the time you were 51, because you just celebrated a birthday. Right. So,
correct.
So happy birthday.
Thank you.
And he looked so shocked, because he just knew you were younger than him.
Yes.
So,
correct.
So do you get that? Do you get that a lot? And do you think that being active or working out, does that, or not necessarily working out, but I guess some form of physical exercise, do you think that helps in the aging process?
Absolutely. It plays a role in the aging process. It doesn't help that I have good genes. Fortunately, my mother and father.
This light brag you doing. I don't know what's going on.
No, I'm not bragging. No, actually, I attribute that to my mother and my father. Thank goodness. So, because that doesn't come from me, that comes from them. So I have to attribute it to them. It's not bragging. I'm humble.
This light flex. First it was, yeah, I can eat whatever I want and I don't gain any weight. Now it's like, yeah, I came from some good genes, so I age backwards. I got the Benjamin Button effect.
I wish I had that. I had that, but like I said, no, eating correctly, being active, definitely sweating out those toxins, that definitely plays a role in it. And just staying active keeps the joints active, and That's that synovial fluid that flows in the joints. You want to kind of keep that flowing. So staying active definitely plays a role in that. Definitely. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So are you a solopreneur, or do you have a team of trainers? How do you work?
At this juncture, I'm solo. I'm a solopreneur.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you're dealing with a number of clients um all by yourself then.
Correct.
Okay. What's your opinion on job shaming? We have a lot of I'm heavy in social media as far as Instagram. I don't watch a lot of TV. I use Instagram as my entertainment. And I notice a lot of people in the entrepreneurial world or space talks down, in my opinion, is talking down to people who have 9 to 5. You constantly hear the, oh, you're building someone else's vision. You should be your own boss, write your own check. First of all, being an entrepreneur is hard. It's nothing easy about being an entrepreneur. It's very exciting and very rewarding, but it's very hard, and not everybody is cut out to it. And especially as a trainer, I think that's something that you could possibly relate to, because a lot of people want to look a certain way, but they don't want to do the work to look
Mm-hmm.
that way. I have a running joke with you. I see you 3 times a week, and I'm like, I will pay way more than I pay you to train me if I could just drop my body off and come pick it up. So I'm still waiting for you to figure that out. Okay. But when
Mm-hmm.
you do, I will definitely be your first client that will drop off my body. You get it the way that I want it to look, and then I'll come pick it up. But but what's your opinion on this whole job shaming culture we're seeing now?
You know what? I don't do that at all because, first of all, I realize that the economy is what the economy is. And so, if a person has a way to take care of their livelihood, more power to them. And then another thing is, I think entrepreneurs, we have to kind of realize that at some point we were employees. And so you can never forget that. Another thing, and I know in my line of work, heck, many of my clients are employees. So, why would I sit and talk negatively about individuals that patronize my business? I'm just not going to do that. So I really don't have a problem with it genuinely, because I understand this type of, being an entrepreneur isn't something, everyone isn't cut out for that. It's like you said, it's a lot of work that goes into that, so no, I'm not into bashing a person because they're an employee. I'm not going to bash them.
Okay. So, we always have a few unpaid bills, but we definitely won't get specific. But I want to ask you about the gross versus net. That's another thing that I see a lot. I actually had a conversation this morning with someone too. Many boast about their gross profits without discussing the costs to run their business, i.e., the overhead. So this gives a false narrative that you should quit your 9 to 5, giving up your guaranteed check, guaranteed in quotes, air quotes, check to become an entrepreneur and make $1 million overnight. So have you heard that? Or have you seen that being displayed or spoke about? And if so, what's your take on the gross report narrative?
Yes, I've seen people talk about this overnight success. But as a person that's not only in business now, but has been in business for himself in other instances, I understand at the end of the day, it's about the bottom line. So it's about the net. That being said, I'm not caught up on the gross. Don't tell me what you gross. I need to know what you net. And so, if a person says they've grossed $1 million, okay, I need to know, okay, well, what is your overhead like?
Mm-hmm.
Because therein lies the true tale. So, because you can't listen, if you have to take X amount of money and you have to invest it back in your business, then you can't claim that money. You can't do anything with that money. That money is not yours. You have to invest it back into the business. And so, because if you don't invest it back into the business, then the business is not going to be as profitable for you as it should be, or as you would like it to be. So I don't get caught up on the gross. At the end of the day, I focus on the net. And I think people have to really pay attention to the bottom line. And the bottom line is what you keep after all is said and done.
Definitely. What's the most rewarding part of being an entrepreneur?
The most rewarding part is you're in control of your financial destiny. That's the most rewarding part. You get to, not only are you in charge of your financial destiny, you are responsible for the contents that you put out there to society. You get an opportunity to have yourself represented the way you need to have yourself represented, or the way you would like to have yourself represented. And when you work for an individual, you represent their company. And there's nothing wrong with that, but you're representing them and their company. So those may not necessarily be your dreams. It may not necessarily be who you are. So that's, one of the greatest rewards, in my opinion, or greatest two rewards, I should say, is you're in control of financial destiny, and you're also in control of what image you put out there to society.
And then the unrewarding. What's the most unrewarding?
The most unrewarding is this, or the most challenging, I should say. I shouldn't say unrewarding, but even though it's a question, but the most challenging aspect of being an entrepreneur is that you never have a moment off. You're never off of work. So when you are supposed to be, when you're not working with a client, you still, I know in my case, you still have to think of ways that you can make your situation better. You're still interacting with clients. I mean, there are clients that I interact with because I do meal plans. There are new clients, potential new clients. You have to put contents on social media. In my case, I do a lot of interacting with clients, potential clients, things of that nature. Meal plans, those types of things I check off. I have a client that every day she gives me her, she does a meal diary. So I have to check her meals every day. So I'm never off.
Okay. So personal trainers don't have, or you as a personal trainer, do you not have set business hours?
Yeah, you have set business hours, but those aren't etched in stone. I mean, obviously, I don't go out here late at night and train a person. At this point, I don't. But I've had clients that I've trained maybe a little later than I would have liked to have trained them. But that was because those were the time, that was the hour that we could get it done. So it's just a matter of how dedicated you are to your business. And especially when you're first starting out. I mean, obviously, I've been doing it a little while, but when you first start out, then you can log in some heavy hours. Yeah.
Okay. So what is and thank you for that. I'm going to start using the challenging instead of unrewarding, because even in your challenges, they can become rewarding.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you for that.
No problem.
What is one action item a new business owner can do to get past the stagnant phase?
Typically, what I would advise this individual to do is to look at individuals who are further along in the process than you. So I know for myself, what I do is I get inspiration at looking at trainers that are further along in the process than I am. And I look at what they're doing and get fresh ideas from what it is they're doing. And it may not be anything on the exercise side. It may be something on the business side. But I look at what it is they're doing and I get inspiration from that. I get some fresh ideas from that. And that's what I do. So, I mean, whatever business an individual is going into, my advice would be to find someone in that respective line of work that is further along in the process than they are, and then kind of look at them, look at what they're doing. That way it kind of breaks up the monotony of just your own individual, your own thoughts. You're looking at it from a different perspective. You start to see things from a different perspective. So that's what I would do.
Yeah, I think that's sound advice. Absolutely. And then as an entrepreneur, a business owner, you're always learning. Just like you said, you don't have set hours. Even when you are off the clock with a particular client, you're still marketing your business. You're still, you have clients that are not necessarily having to be physically there with you, but you're going over clients' meal plans or meal journals. So there's a lot to do as an entrepreneur. And so you definitely have to find ways to revitalize or refresh what it is that you're doing.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. So what is some advice that you would give those who are considering entrepreneurship, specifically as a trainer, a personal trainer?
If an individual is choosing to go into this line of work and become an entrepreneur, my advice would be that they need to have a passion for this line of work. And it doesn't just stop with this line of work, obviously. Any line of work that an individual chooses to go into from a business standpoint, it would behoove that individual to have love for whatever it is he or she is doing. And then in this manner, you'll never work a day in your life.
Okay, absolutely. Okay, with legacy building, what is the impact that you are hoping to achieve as a trainer or business owner overall?
My focus, of course, is to make sure that I've improved the quality of life for those individuals who I've trained.
Okay. Well, like I said, I've been with you for a year and a half. You've definitely improved my quality of life. I go out, people notice immediately that I've lost inches. The scale is still a little disrespectful, but I've definitely lost inches. I see my body changing, and the inches seem to matter more to me than the actual weight. So when you start looking at your body, you're like, okay, I see myself sculpting. I see different things changing. And so then when you see that, then the number on the scale doesn't matter as much anymore. So your legacy is definitely happening with me for sure. And I greatly appreciate it.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you see it.
Absolutely. Well, I wouldn't be coming to you. I'd have been left a long time ago.
I know that to be right.
That's my time and my money, and I'm not seeing results. Like you said with your friend who went to the other trainer and was not seeing anything. Why would I pay my money? And I think trainers kind of get a bad rep because, in my case, the trainer would start to see some result. I guess they would see results first, and then they become unprofessional. They start to hit on you, then they want to take you out, and And it's like, you're training me. Like, I want to work out, and I don't want to come here and worry about you harassing me.
Right.
You're here for a job. And let me just say this, I've told you this before, but I definitely want to include this in our session here, or podcast here. You are the most professional trainer I have ever worked with. I mean, like I said, I've had 4, but with having almost 21 years in the military, I've had drill sergeants and everything else. And so they're a personal trainer in a sense, screaming in your face and making you do all these exercises. But I always laugh about this. Matter of fact, I was talking about it earlier today. I was telling a coworker that, because he was talking, matter of fact, he was talking about a trainer from a box gym. But I told him, I said, I love that this trainer is, one, super polite. You do not scream at me. You whenever you have to touch me, which is rare, you always excuse yourself. So you preface any physical touch with "pardon me." So now I already know that you're getting ready to touch me. And then when you touch me, you're so aggressive, and I'm like, why are you why are you so aggressive? And my friend or the coworker said, oh, because he's making sure that there is nothing happening right here. um and when you do, like, okay, so because I made the statement of, like, if I'm doing a ab exercise, and sometimes you have my feet extended in the air to the sky, and my feet are at a vertical position instead of like a parallel or flat position, as though I was standing on the ceiling.
Right.
And you would reposition my feet, but you would kind of do it so rough, and I'm saying rough as opposed to caressing me, you
Right.
know
Right.
right. So to be able to distinctly differentiate the two, even if we are doing a back exercise, and you're telling me what muscle I'm trying to work. So if you're telling me, okay, Sean, you should feel it in your shoulder blade. If you have to touch me, one, you'll say, pardon me. Then the way you would touch me is like, your hand is like at a, like, you would literally touch me with your fingertips, so your hand is like at a chopping position, I guess. I don't know a better way
Right.
to describe it. And you're literally touching me with your fingertips to point out, this is where you should feel it. So I've never had a sense of, oh, Kaymel is just trying to caress me. He's just trying to touch me. And my coworkers was making a joke about, they use an example of a woman doing squats, and the trainer putting his hand basically under her butt and saying, okay, you have to go low until you touch my hand. And they weren't saying that that's what they've seen, but they understood the level of discomfort that I was talking about. So they went to the extreme to point that out. And I said, yeah, exactly. That's the level of extreme that I'm talking about, that I've experienced
Wow.
prior to you. And I have introduced you to a few other people, and a couple of them have followed up and actually worked out with you, and they have said the same thing.
Right.
One was a man,
Mm-hmm.
6'5", 300 and some odd pounds, and he said he wished he would have met you a long time ago. He said, one, he wouldn't have been that weight, and two, he had an ankle injury,
Right.
and he had been limping on his ankle for 18 years.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And so then when he came to you, I'm not sure if it was prior to his surgery or after his ankle surgery. He finally decided to have surgery.
After his surgery.
After his surgery. Okay. But he said that if he had come to you a lot sooner, then again, he wouldn't have been the weight that he was, and he would have just overall been an overall healthier person.
Right.
And that was another thing that he said about you being polite. He's like, he's so polite. That wasn't something that he was used to. He was a collegiate athlete, football player. So he's used to someone in his face screaming at him.
Mm.
And the fact that you're a man and you are the same way with your male clients as you are with your female clients, and being polite and the level of professionalism, I feel like that speaks volumes, and that's something that we don't really see a whole lot in the personal trainer realm. We see a lot of the opposite, which is the reason I feel like there's a lot of people who kind of give personal trainers, or that stigma is stuck with personal trainers.
Right.
Okay. Well, I definitely wanted to let you know that here on this
Thank you.
platform. Absolutely. So in our what our last question before we get to the last segment is, are entrepreneurs born or made?
You know what? I would have to say that we're made. And the reason I would say that, and I had to think long and hard on that, but the reason why I say that is because of this. I think that individuals ultimately, I think all individuals have an autonomous nature when they're born. However, through nurturing, through the terrain, we begin to develop an entrepreneur spirit, particularly in the Black community. Many of us, now we're getting better, so let me say that. But historically, we were taught to go to school and get a job. Historically, that's what we were taught. However, when you look at other races of people, they teach their children to run a company, to go into business for themselves. And this is typically what they teach their child. So I think that entrepreneurship is something that is nurtured. And it can be nurtured either through the parents, either through the environment, things of that nature. So I believe personally, it's something that's nurtured. So it's something that's taught. That's what I believe.
Okay. I appreciate that for sure. All right. So in our last segment, Growing Our Tribe, we shout out another small Black owned business, as well as a book that has helped us in growing our minds, which will in turn grow our business. Can you name, or do you have a Black owned business that you have in mind, letting us know what do they do and how do we find them?
Absolutely. I would have to shout out Body by Blake, Atlanta. Mr. Blake is a phenomenal trainer. He's a great businessman. At times we've partnered on certain things. And he's definitely mentored me in a lot of areas.
Okay. So another trainer. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Okay. How do we and hey, that's rare because people want to be the best in their field. So you being able to shout out someone else that is in the same, that's doing the same thing you do, that hats off to you for that as well. So how do we get in touch with Body by Blake?
You can find him on social media, Body by Blake Atlanta. He's on Instagram, on Facebook, Charles Blake.
Okay, great. And then do you have a book that has helped you or your business grow?
Absolutely. One of the most inspirational books that I've read is a book called Man's Search for Meaning, and it's by an author, Viktor Frankl.
Okay, absolutely. All right. And then how can people get in contact with you for the services that you offer, which our meal prep, personal training. You're also teaching some classes, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And
I teach an abdominal class, and I teach a yoga class. Actually, at Body Bob Blake's gym, his facility.
Okay. How does one get in contact with you for any of those services?
Probably the easiest way. I have a website, but probably the easiest way, since everyone's on social media, and I believe in just keeping it simple. I can be found at Kaymel the Body Mechanic on Instagram, or Kaymel Wilson on Facebook.
Okay, so Kaymel the Body Mechanic, there's no special spelling. It's spelled all properly, right?
All properly. Kaymel the Body Mechanic. It's in lowercase letters. All one word, just all together. Kaymel the Body Mechanic on
Okay.
Instagram.
And Kaymel is Kaymel.
Yes, ma'am.
The Body Mechanic. Okay, and Kaymel Wilson on Facebook.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you, Kay. I do appreciate you taking the time out to share with our listeners what it is that you do. You're a phenomenal trainer, definitely dealing with me. I know as sometimes in the gym, people are looking like, does she even get along with him? Like, how is he dealing with her? And at times, other trainers have told you should get paid twice for me.
Yes.
So I greatly appreciate it. I appreciate everything that you've done in working with me. And again, your patience has been amazing. I know there's been times where you wanted to fire me as a client, but I do appreciate you sticking with me and helping me along in my journey. And I do appreciate you coming onto this platform and giving so much knowledge to our listeners. So thank you very, very much.
You're more than welcome. It's been a pleasure.
Manifestation says, I ask for what I want. I command what I want. I send it out into the universe, and I, without a doubt in my faith and my belief, wait for it to come back to me. I don't look for my blessings. I send the energy out to go get it, and it comes back to find me. Michi X. Till next time, this has been an episode of Sean Henry's Becoming.